Hey TikTok, welcome to the Balanced Millennial Monday. All right, let me get Facebook going because last week, y'all, YouTube was not streaming, but I was live though, but it was not streaming. So let me get Facebook going. I lost Facebook. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Yes, me and YouTube are not gonna beef today because I was definitely upset last week that I thought I was streaming and was not streaming last week. So if you tried to catch me last week on YouTube, my bad. I thought I was streaming the entire time and I was not. All right, let me see. I got Facebook up. Everything is up. Okay, we are all ready to go. Okay, welcome to the Balanced Millennial Monday. It is your girl Key. I am the conscious living coach, and I help guide millennials out of survival mode and into a more balanced and harmonious lifestyle. So I'm definitely excited to get on here and talk today because it is Black History Month, and we got to talk about the stigma with mental health in the Black community. Because although it's getting better, although I'm loving all the hold on, let me turn this up on TikTok. Although I'm loving all the therapists on Black TV shows now, like when I tell y'all, I'll be hyped now when I see a Black therapist on a TV show because the representation is beautiful. I think my favorite Black therapist so far was the fact that I can't remember her name is disrespectful. I'm gonna come back to y'all, but she did an amazing job on the Upshaws. And if you know what I'm talking about, please drop a name because I'm being disrespectful. But although although the belief systems in the Black community is definitely shifting about like how we view mental health and how we process our feelings, how we process our trauma, how we process our past experiences, although that is definitely changing, I think it's still some more work that we need to do. There's still some things that we need to talk about. And so that is what I am here to do with you today. So if you are joining me today on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, just drop a heart for me so I can see what you got going on. Drop a heart for me. Send me a little love because one, I'm proud of myself because I've been doing this for I think this is my sixth week. So I'm proud of myself for sticking to this for 6 weeks, y'all. I'm doing the entire year. I said every single Monday in 2024, I'm live at 9 p.m. So I'm proud of myself for sticking to it. And it's been 6 weeks. So drop a heart for me in the comments. If you were present with me today, I sure would appreciate the love. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so now let's get into it because you know I don't like to keep y'all long. I know it was a holiday. A lot of y'all was off work today, but you gotta go to work tomorrow. I ain't gotta go to work tomorrow. It's like humble brag. I took a day off. But let's get into it anyway. So again, we're talking about stigma. We're talking about stigma in the Black community because it is Black History Month, and it's important to know why you even feel so why you feel so embarrassed to seek help when you need help. Why you feel so frustrated when it seems like nobody understands you, and why it seems like it's so hard to find a mental health professional that does understand you, that does work on a level that can help you actually process what you're experiencing and create solutions that will help you move forward in your future. So let's get started. The first misconception and the first stigma in the Black community that I want to address is the idea that people think that therapy or coaching is only for people who have like severe mental health issues. Like you don't have to have bipolar disorder to seek mental help. You don't have to have schizophrenia to seek mental help. You don't have to have this serious mental health condition that's really like just laying your ass out every single day. You can't have engaging relationships. You have like your self-esteem is super low. Um, you're binge eating, or you don't have to have these super serious disorders in order for you to seek care, in order for you to search somebody out for your mental health. The biggest sign that you know that it's time for you to seek somebody out for your mental health is when you are experiencing just negative symptoms and cycles for longer periods of time. When we're talking about diagnosis, when we're talking about the DSM, a lot of the symptoms are like, have you had them for at least 4 weeks? Have you had them for at least 3 months? Have you had them for 6 months? Have you, some of them you need to have had them for a year. They had to have been presented for a year. So a lot of times You may not even meet the criteria for a diagnosis, but you still know that you need support. You still know that you're having a hard time getting out of bed every day. You still know that you're having a hard time parenting your kids because it's overwhelming to the point where it's like you're being meaner than you want to be. You're having a hard time at work. You're constantly drowning in the amount of work that needs to be done. It's like every single day you go to work, not more is getting done. Those are not serious mental health conditions, but they are issues that need to be addressed in order for you to move forward, in order for you to feel more peace, to feel more release, to feel more aligned and balanced in your day-to-day life. And so that is one of the things that in the balancing act, again, the balancing act is a 3-phase journey that I got millennials through to get out of survival, to get out of survival mode. And so that's one of the things that I do address in the balancing act. I make it very, very important that I am a coach, although I do have counseling experience because I have a degree in psychology. I'm 2 semesters away from a clinical mental health counseling degree, and I've interned as well. So I've done counseling. I've had a supervisor in counseling. So although I do have that background and I do utilize some of those skills in coaching, I am not a licensed counselor. I do not perform as if I'm a licensed counselor. So I make it very clear that with my clients that I am a coach. I do coach work. And if therapy is needed, that's something that we work on in session, is finding the client a therapist. Um, but again, in the balancing act, it's very important for you to understand that it's not just for crisis. Like if you know that your routines are off and you're having anxiety every single day, if every single day you wake up and you're dreading the day, you're dreading all the work that has to be done, you're dreading all the responsibilities, you're drowning in your responsibilities, the balancing act is great for you because it helps you learn how to manage your time better. And not in a way that's saying that 'cause a lot of times I feel like when people hear manage time better, I need to do more things. It's not that you need to do more things. You need to focus on the things that are actually important. You need to focus on the things that actually align with your core values. And that's very hard to do if you don't know what they are. So that is one thing that I do in the balancing act. In phase 1, actually, is we identify core values to make sure that your actions align with your core values and your beliefs align with your core values. So that's one stigma I definitely wanted to address today, is this idea that you should only seek help if you're having a serious mental health or severe mental health crisis or issues. That is not the case. If more days out of the week than not you feel down, you should seek some kind of mental health support, whether it is a counselor or whether it is a coach. Um, and also with coaching and within my program, I'm really good at like offering resources. People always tell me how resourceful I am. Like I can always find what you need. I can always find what you need. So even if that means like in our sessions, like you need a certain type of doctor to help you with whatever your condition is, that whatever physical condition that you're experiencing, we're gonna find that for you. We're gonna look into that for you. I'm gonna show you how to search for that, and I'm gonna be searching for that myself. I actually have a client right now who was seeing a therapist at the beginning, but because of like insurance issues, she actually decided not to see the therapist anymore. So part of my role as her coach is to help her find a therapist. And so that's one thing that I'm doing, is making sure that at our next session, I'm going to have a list of therapists prepared for her that will accept her insurance. And then she can take that list and, make the phone calls, send the emails and all of that. But I am here as a resource. And that is very, very important. I feel like when it comes to even getting, hey, thank you for joining. I feel like that's very, very important when it comes to talking about stigma in the mental health community, is understanding that resources are a very, very big part. We have been denied resources since we were forced, excuse me, since we were forced into this country, we were denied resources. So a lot of people don't understand how powerful it is to just know the answer to something or know someone who can get the answer to you. Like there are people right now, there are Black people, because this is Black History Month, and that's what the fuck we talking about. There are Black people right now who are spinning in cycles of anxiety, spinning in cycles of depression, spinning in cycles of loneliness, spinning in cycles of defeat and worry, solely because they just don't know where to look for the answer, solely because they don't have the resources, solely because they don't know someone who knows someone. And that is where I like to come in with the balancing act, is to provide those resources. I actually had a client who has a trial coming up soon. And one of the things that I mentioned about the trial was, hey, Erica, One of the things, thank you for joining. Hey, Barbara. One of the things that I mentioned about the trial was to make sure that you practice the trial before the trial. And I'm really big on visualization. I'm really big on putting yourself in, especially when it comes to stressful positions, putting yourself in those stressful positions before you actually have to live it in reality, because then you start training your body on how to respond to it. So when the craziest shit can happen in that courtroom, but it's like mentally and physically you've already did that mental you've already done that body mind connection to be able to show up in a more calm, balanced manner. So that way it's like nothing that's said in this courtroom, nothing that's done in this courtroom is going to throw you off your game, because you've already mentally and physically prepared yourself to experience that. And that's a resource. That is a resource. There are people who have never in their life heard of visualization or been taught about visualization, and there's nobody around them that visualizes, or maybe they don't know that's what they're doing. That's another thing too. um so really, really big on combating that stigma in the balancing act is understanding that even if you don't have a severe mental health issue, you can still seek support, because you still shouldn't be having, out of 7 days a week, you still shouldn't be having 4 days where you just feel miserable, 5 days where you just feel miserable, but then you get 1 or 2 days of relief from that. That's not the lifestyle I want you to live. I don't want you to live a lifestyle where you're just in a cycle of worry. You're just in a cycle of anxiety. You're just in a cycle of just feeling sorry for yourself and just feeling outright just miserable with everything going on in your life. That's not necessarily a mental health disorder, but it is something that should be taken serious. And it is something that you should seek help for. Seeking help for it, because again, just because you're seeing a life coach and just because you're seeing a therapist does not mean you're crazy. It does not mean you're crazy. I think I saw that recently too, where I feel like it was an old episode of something, so it wasn't like a newer, like within the last 3-4 years episode, but it was like an older episode of some show, and it was like, I think he said so. Oh yes, I was watching the show. I think it's called Evil, and it's basically like a show where they're working with the court to see if people are actually possessed or if they actually committed the crime. Pretty good show. And this therapist walks up to this boy, and he's like, "I don't want therapy. I'm not crazy." That alone is problematic, because if you believe that only crazy people need mental health services, you're not going to get help until you've lost your mind. And that's problematic. That is problematic, because if you're waiting until you actually have a mental health crisis to get help, it's too late. Because one of the things that I talk about in the balancing act as well, when we get into phase 3 and we're talking about self-care and routines, is the fact that burnout is too late. Like, you shouldn't be burning out every single week and then trying to recover from that burnout, because now you have to reset. If you're on my email list, or if you follow me, you know that that's been my Q1 focus altogether in my business, is a reset. Because coming out of Christmas, coming out of December, coming out of back to back to back holidays and family functions and expectations from the world about how you should be performing and how you should be behaving is fucking stressful. It's fucking stressful. And no lie, y'all, I quit the holidays years ago. Like, my family knows I'm not celebrating none of that shit. I'm not stressing myself out about that every single year. I'm not putting myself in that cycle every year. But there are a lot of people who still do, because it's expected of them. So when we get into January, how are you gonna set a goal in January when you still stressed out from November? How are you going to set a goal in January when you're still stressed out from December? So that's why I'm really, really big on doing a reset. Even in my, like I said, the third phase of the balancing act, it's about making sure that your routines are in place for your high and low days, because if you allow yourself to burn out, it's too late. If you allow yourself to burn out, it's too late. And then you're going to have to reset before you can even get started. Because if you're burning out and then it's like, oh, I'm going to go to the spa, I'm going to feel all better. You're not. You're not going to feel better, because it's going to, however long it took you to burn out, it's probably going to take about that much time for you to reset as well. I remember my very, very first reset. Let me see, was this my first reset? Because I've been working since I was 16. I'm 29, so yeah, I've been working since I was 16. And I think there's only been 2 times in all these years that I was not working. Like, by choice, I was like, I need a break. And the last one was when I quit teaching. So when I quit teaching, I think it's been 2 years now. So when I quit teaching 2 years ago, that it took me months to, like, get to a place where I wasn't waking up every day with anxiety. Like it took me months to get to a place where I wasn't like having like heart palpitations just because I was an alarm went off. Because when I tell you I'm not a morning person. I'll never be a morning person ever in my life. It's never gonna happen. But because I'm a mother and because I work a 9 to 5 still, like I have to be up early in the morning. But teaching had me up at like 5:30. I don't think anybody should have to get up at 5:30 and then not get home until like 5:30, 6 o'clock. That's a 12-hour day and you only get paid for 8 hours is unacceptable. Okay? It's unacceptable. So even though I wasn't having a severe like mental health crisis at that time, I still did the things in my program that helped me reset so that because I was burnt out. So I still did the things in my program that helped me reset. So again, if you're waiting until a mental health crisis until you seek mental health services, it's too late because it's going to take you so long to get out of that cycle. Let's say that you've been feeling depressed for 6 months. You know how long it's going to take you to feel new, renewed, refreshed again if you allowed yourself to be in that space for 6 months straight? You're going to have to rebuild your relationships because when you're depressed, your relationships are deeply impacted. So your relationship with your kids are deeply impacted. So that means you've been talking to them crazy and don't even realize it for 6 months. So it's like they're gonna be remembering these things that you don't even remember because a lot of times when you're depressed, it impacts your memory. When you're really depressed, it impacts your memory because you're a lot of times it's like if it is a hormone thing, it's like if it's an actual hormonal issue, a lot of times it's not an issue, it's like your habits issue. But if it's an actual hormonal issue, there are times when your hormones are at such a low rate, like they're not even refilling completely, based on your habits and things like that. And it's so low that the synapses just not they're not firing off the way they're supposed to. And so since the synapses in your brain are not firing off and in your body they're not firing off the way that they're supposed to, you just can't remember shit. Like you'll wake up and it's just brain fog from the time that you wake up. So it's like you're a zombie. From the time that you wake up until the time that you go to sleep, it's like you're a zombie. And that means that all the crazy shit that you said for 6 months of being depressed, you got to repair that. You have to answer to that. It doesn't matter that you were depressed and that you were having a hard time because you still said things to people and you still did things to people that was unacceptable. Um, so again, when we're talking about mental health stigma in the Black community, the first thing is don't wait until you're having a crisis to seek help. Seek help before the crisis. Seek help. Seek help as soon as you notice that something's just not right. Like, are you more snappy than normal? Not when you PMSing, because when I'm PMSing, I turn into Aries. My best friend is an Aries, and I told her I literally messaged her the other day, and I was like, "Is this how you feel all the time?" Because I am on fire. I am complaining about things I don't normally complain about. I am bitching. I am mad. Like, is this is how you feel all day, every day, girl? Damn, because I'm a Cancer, you know. I'm emotional, but I don't really get mad a lot. Like, I don't get mad unless I'm PMSing. But back to the point. You want to start recognizing what's going on in your body and start recognizing when something is not normal. But it's really hard to do that if you're not used to monitoring your body in the first place. And that's one of the things that we do in the balance and act when we're talking about phase 2 and we're talking about mindful time management. You're going to be auditing and looking at your time and looking at how you're I know my bad. And looking at how you feel during those times. Like one of my issues is I like to eat late at night. I like to eat late at night, and it's a problem because I want to get rid of some body fat. Like I want to decrease my body fat. But what I notice is that I'm eating late at night because I'm bored, and I'm eating late at night because I'm lonely. I've been single for a couple years, so I've spent the last couple years like of nights to myself. So it's like when I get bored and when I get lonely at night, I go in the kitchen and get something to eat. That's the things that in phase 2 of the journey you're going to be tracking is like when I go do these things, why? Like, what am I thinking about? What am I feeling? Because it's hard for you to recognize that you need to seek help, and it's hard for you to recognize that you need extra support if you don't know if you don't know how your emotions are impacting your actions. So if you're not, and one of my my motto in at Premier Personal Growth Firm is that you have to transform your actions to transform, you have to transform your thoughts to transform your actions. Because once you understand and once you're aware of like what you're thinking and how that is impacting the choices that you make, it's easier to change how you think so you can change your actions. But it's really, really hard to change your actions if you have no idea why you're even doing the shit. Okay. So that was the first one. The first one is don't wait until you have a mental health crisis before you actually seek help. Again, in the Balancing Act, I really address this because one of the things that I emphasize that I am a coach and not a therapist, but if a therapist is needed, that is something that we're going to do is make sure you get a therapist. If there are other resources, like maybe you need housing type resources or things like that, like those are the things that we address in the Balancing Act, because I don't want you to feel like because you're not having a crisis, you can't be supported. That's not what this is about. This can be as simple as, oh, I want to develop healthier relationships with my friends. Let's do it. Let's do that in a Balancing Act, because all that means to me is that relationships is a core value to you, and we want to start aligning your behaviors and your thoughts with that core value of healthy relationships. The second stigma we're going to address is seeing mental health discussing mental health is a sign of weakness or vulnerability. I am very, very adamant about the fact that someone being vulnerable and someone being open and honest and sharing their true testament, their true story, is strength. Because there are so many people walking around this world who think they're strong and who think that they're, big shit, when really they're scary as hell and they're weak as hell, because they're never willing to share the truth with others. They're always wearing a mask. They're always being dishonest, and not because they're just a liar or a dishonest person. It's because they see vulnerability as weakness. They see open and honesty as weakness, and so they're choosing what looks like strength to them, and what looks like strength to them is wearing a mask. What looks like strength to them is saying that they're perfectly fine, knowing they cry in bed every single night. What's strength to them is saying, oh, I don't need nobody, I'm good all by myself. But every single day you're craving relationships with other people. You're jealous when you see a couple walking on the street. You're jealous when you see a group of friends having a good time. You're jealous when you see a happy, healthy family, because you want those things. But because you see the vulnerability and the strength of saying those things as a weakness, you're not going to go after those things. You're going to keep telling yourself that that's not what you want. You're going to keep telling other people that that's not what you want, even when it's presented to you. Because you see it as weakness, you're going to keep saying it's not something that you want. So we definitely got to stop seeing any kind of mental health issues as weakness or vulnerability, because you have to be able to take the mask off and face who you are, because that is the only way for you to really, really, truly grow and show up as the person that you want to show up as. And in the Balancing Act, I am very, very big on creating just a supportive and non-judgmental space where you can really discuss like what you're feeling, what you're thinking, the experiences that you've had. Because um, a lot of times people are put in positions to have that safety and to have that space to really just not be judged, but then they're judged. Or someone runs their mouth and now that safety is taken away from them, and that's really big for people. A lot of people, once that safety is gone, like that's it for them. They're not going to trust anybody else. But again, we don't want that for you. We don't want that for you. We want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel like you can navigate and manage your emotions. You can navigate and manage your mental. You can navigate and manage your physical. Um, and put the pride to the side. Okay, you got to put the pride to the side. You got to be able to show up again without the mask. And in the Balancing Act, that is what I offer, is a space to show up without the mask, a space to show up where you don't have to code switch, a space to show up where you can cuss when you want to cuss, a space to show up where you're not having to perform. And I feel like a lot of times Black people are worried about seeking a coach or seeking a therapist, because they feel like they have to perform. They feel like they have to show up as Superwoman in session, or they feel like they have to show up as Superman in session. But I can tell you now, in the Balancing Act, you do not have to show up with your cape on. We are not saving no hoes over here, okay? Ain't nobody saving a hoe around here. I can promise you that. So you do not have to show up in the balancing act with your cape on. You can take your cape off, hang it up on the door. Hopefully you don't take it and put it back on at the end of the session. But hey, if you do, we're gonna work on that. Okay, we're gonna work on that. But again, I want you to stop being scared to take the mask off. And it is scary. I'm not saying that you're never going to be scared to do it again. You could be someone who's very vulnerable and open, but then you could also meet someone, you'd be like, damn, this is still a little scary to me. And that is perfectly fine because being vulnerable and being open is scary. It is a scary thing. But you still want to push past that anyway, because at the end of the day, the people that you choose to be around, the people that you choose to engage with, you want them to know who you are so that way you are actually choosing people who want to fuck with you. Like it doesn't make sense to choose a coach. It doesn't make sense to choose a therapist and to invest your money, invest your time, and then choose not to share anything that's honest and open and truthful, because all I'm going to do as a coach is respond to what you're telling me. If I feel like something is a little off, I'm probably going to dig deeper in the questioning, but that's all I can respond to is what you're telling me. So if all you're telling me in session is, a lie because you're scared, you feel like I'm going to judge you because you said that you still miss your ex, or you feel like I'm going to judge you because you said because you said that your job makes you feel miserable, makes you feel this way. Like, no, this is a judgment free zone. And then that's very important when it comes to the stigma in the Black community. When it comes to mental health, is finding that judgment free zone. And finding a coach, finding a therapist is like a relationship too. So if you find a coach and you find a therapist and you feel like they are judgmental, that is not the coach or therapist for you. Fire they ass, hire somebody new, keep that cycle going until you find someone who actually challenges you in a way that's going to help you push past your fear of being vulnerable and your fear and your belief that being vulnerable is a weakness. Okay, so last but not least, because I don't went way over today, y'all. It's supposed to be 20 minutes. So last but not least, we definitely want to make it a big factor in why Black people have a stigma with mental health and mental health professionals is cultural factors. Like I said, I've studied the DSM. I've been an intern. I've been studying mental health since I was 16. I took a psychology class at 16, and I was like, this is it for me. I'm locked in, and I've been locked in ever since. So I've been studying mental health since I was 16. And one of the things that is very, very important and that I love about my program, I actually am at Liberty University for my master's. And what I love about that is that they are so, so heavily focused on cultural factors, because that has been a big impact into why Black people have had an issue with going to therapy, because no no Black woman my age, I'm 29, so no Black millennial wants to sit and no Black millennial wants to sit in a room with an old white lady that only says over and over again, so how does that make you feel? Like, realistically, none of us want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. Even as a mental health professional, I fired a therapist before. So it's like nobody wants to deal with that. So it's very, very important that even when you're trying to, because you have to look at it as like you're hiring someone, because you're going to be paying them for services. So you have to look at it and start asking those questions like, do you have the cultural competency to serve me? And I can confirm in the balancing act, I do. Again, I've done the work to I've done the work to study other cultures. So not just African American culture, but other cultures, other Black cultures around the world. And that's very important because you want someone who understands that certain aspects of your culture is not weird. You don't want someone thinking like I practice hoodoo. Um, so I would hate for my therapist to be like, oh, I practice hoodoo, and two, I'm a spiritualist. And I talk about these things with my therapist. I talk about my spiritual experiences with my therapist, and I would hate for her to be like, do I need to do I need to call somebody about these voices you hear? I would hate to have that experience, but because she is culturally competent and because she has an understanding of who I am and I'm honest in my sessions with her, I don't have to worry about those things. I can speak about my spiritual my spiritual experiences. I can speak about my spiritual gifts. I can speak about these things freely and openly with her because she's culturally competent to know that this is not strange. This is not weird. This is not a mental illness or mental disorder. This is something that is in me, is ingrained in me, is a power that I have, is a gift that I have, is a God ordained, and I live in it. That's the work that I do. Um, so it's very, very important that when you're looking for a therapist, when you're looking for a coach, is that you just ask those questions like, what kind of training have they had when it comes to cultural competency? Because I'm telling you now, if your therapist got their degree or if your coach got their certification 20 years ago, they're not up to date. They're not up to date. They're not up to par. They don't have enough information to serve you as a Black man, as a Black woman. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that when you're looking for a therapist and a coach. And then again, in the balancing act, I do incorporate culturally competent approaches in my resources, in my discussions. I'm always like looking for ways to better serve my clients. I'm always asking them like about their spiritual beliefs and about their connection to source, about their connection to the universe, about their connection to the world. I'm also asking them like, where's your family from? Like, I understand that different cultures have different belief systems. So if I have a client and I have a client whose parents are from Haiti, um, so I understand that there are certain um, ways about like her parents that are different from like an African American parent because I know that her parents are gonna, her parent was more strict. Like I know that they were more like about by the book and I want you to do things this way and blah blah blah. So I know these things because I have that cultural competency. Whereas someone else who has never studied this may never have an understanding of what's normal in your culture. So it's very, very, very important that you're making sure that your therapist, your coach is culturally competent. And in the balancing act, you do get a culturally competent coach. You don't have to be just African American to work with me. Um, I definitely understand different cultures, different belief systems, different spiritual beliefs, even but based on cultures, that's an important factor too, because um, a lot of times I feel like people, especially African Americans, can assume that the way that we were raised and the way that we were made to believe is the only way. And I don't believe that. I don't think that that's how we should move forward as a culture and as a society because I do believe that we can take a lot from each other and create a community and a culture that is competent within itself to the point where it's like this whole stigma can be removed altogether because there will be an understanding that oh, you're from Haiti. So I understand that you may have these beliefs and I understand that you may have these ways of living and these experiences and things like this. Um, so again, the Balancing Act is dedicated to breaking down these stigmas and promoting open, supportive, and culturally sensitive environment for mental health and to help you integrate your overall well-being. Because in the Balancing Act, again, there are 3 phases. In the first phase, we are talking about your core values. What do you really believe? What's really important to you? What really matters to you at the end of the day? Um, and we're talking about aligning your actions, aligning your beliefs with those core values, because that's where the magic happens, y'all. I start there in my program because no lie, that is where the magic happens because a lot of people are doing things that are completely against their human design. A lot of people are doing things that are completely against their belief system. And then you're wondering why there's no balance in your life. You're wondering why there's no growth, why you're like stuck in the same cycle over and over and over again because you don't know what the fuck you really believe in or what you really believe in you're not aligning with it, your thoughts don't align with it, your actions don't align with it, and so that's creating this chaos and this daily chaos in your life. You're waking up stressed out, you're in the car on the way to work stressed out, you're stressed every moment of your day, you're having some kind of stress and anxiety, your shoulders been up under your ears for months now. You haven't released your jaw in weeks, your jaw's been so tight you can't chew at this point. Like you're having these stressors every single day in your life because you're not aligned with your core values. You're accepting partners and friendships where they don't respect you, they don't value you. you're working at a job that doesn't pay you enough. Because I'm all for because I mean, at the end of the day, we all got to make money off the work. It's capitalism, we live in capitalism. So, I get that. But the least a job can do is pay you enough to pay your bills. That's the least a job can do. I understand that it may be stressful, it may be annoying, you may not like your coworkers, you may not like your boss, all that other shit. But the least a job can do is pay you well. And if your job is not even doing that, like if you have to work a second job, if you have to stay with that man or that woman to pay bills because your job don't pay enough, you're out of alignment. You are out of alignment, because that lets me know off rip that you are so deep in capitalism that they have brainwashed you into believing there's not enough fucking money. But there is so much money in this fucking world and in this country that we are funding genocide. We are using it to build mansions. We're using it I can't go anywhere. Y'all, I'm in Metro Atlanta. I can't go anywhere in Metro Atlanta now and there not be construction. So who broke? There is plenty of money going around. There is plenty of money going around. Okay. So again, in the balance and act, in the 3 phases, in the beginning, we talk about the core values, because we want to get rid of this stigma that we want to get rid of the stigma in Black communities when it comes to mental health. And to do that, you need to know what's important to you. You need to know what your core values are. You need to know what actions you need to be doing to align with your core values. You also need to know what those core values mean to you. So if one of your core values is peace, what does that mean? What is peace? What does it look like? What does it sound like? I'm really big on senses, really, really big on senses. I actually am going to have a series coming up soon about clear audience senses, because somebody requested that. I just ain't recorded shit. To be honest, I ain't recorded nothing. But I am there. I'm clairaudient, as we know. So I'm really big on, like, when I hear a word, what else do I hear? So you have to know what your core values are. You also have to know how you're spending your time, where you're spending your time. Are you spending your time in places that don't fucking matter? Are you not spending enough time in places that do matter? And you need to know you need to have clear set routines. You need to have routines for the morning. You need to have routines for the night. You need to have routines for busy days. You need to have routines for slow days. You need to have routines for high energy days. You need to have routines for low energy days. You need to have this kind of set up. And it's not saying that you're going to use these routines every single day for the rest of your life. It's just so that way you have it in your toolkit. You have to have a toolkit that is overflowing, so that way you don't burn out. Because again, once you burn out, you have to reset. There is not enough self-care in the world to get you out of there's not enough self-care in the world to get you out of a burnout state. You have to reset once you're burned out. Before you burn out, yes, you can self-care your way back up. Think of it like a Sims mood. I don't know what the meter is called, but it's like a Sims meter. Like, before you burn out and you're low, they can go take a bath and it'll go up. They can go eat dinner and it'll go up. They can go hug their partner and it can go up. But once you burn out, once it's depleted, once there's nothing there, you have to restore your nervous system in order to change the way that you're reacting to things. And then you can tap into self-care, and then you can do the things that you need to do to make yourself feel better. But you have to get to that baseline first, and that baseline is not burnout. That baseline is not burnout. Burnout is beneath the baseline. You have to get back to the baseline before you can practice self-care. And we talk about in phase 3 of the Balance and Act, because again, I am an avid believer in not burning out in the first place, preventing yourself from burning out, recognizing when your body has had too much, recognizing when your emotions have had too much, recognizing when you are answering the phone too much for people and you can't align with your core values because you're doing too much for other people around you. Ooh, I was talking today. Y'all got me for 40 minutes and I was sleepy. Rich went to sleep. I had to put him in the bed right before this. But again, that is the Balance and Act. We talked about mental health stigma in the Black community and how the Balance and Act is combating that stigma. I'm currently accepting 3 more clients for the Balance and Act. DM the word balance. DM me the word balance if you want a link to it. We can hop on a call to see if the program is a fit for you. Again, the Balancing Act is a three-phase journey. A three-phase, I know, right? And I don't have behind me. I do need some water. My throat dry. I've been going. But balance is a three-phase journey where I got millennials out of survival mode and into a balanced lifestyle. In phase one, we're talking about core values. We want to talk about what matters to you and how you can align your actions to what actually matters to you. In phase two, we are talking about mindful time management. We're not talking about doing more. We're talking about doing less but more efficiently. We're going to teach you that process of doing less but more efficiently. And then the final phase, we're going to talk about new habits. We're going to talk about your new routines, your new habits that you're going to be sticking to moving forward from the routine. Moving forward from the program. So, again, I'm currently accepting 3 clients for the Balancing Act. I have 3 more clients for the Balancing Act. Please DM me and we can talk more about whether this program is a fit for you. Thank y'all for joining me on a Balanced Millennial Monday. I will see y'all again next Monday. I'll be here every Monday at 9 p.m. Make sure you join, turn on your post reminders, subscribe on TikTok. Subscribe on YouTube at Key to Your Goals. Go and join the Balanced Millennial Facebook group, and then follow on TikTok at Keandra Ware. Thank y'all for joining me, and I'm gonna exit out of all these apps. And I appreciate y'all. I'm so grateful, so grateful. Much gratitude. Have an amazing week. Don't let nobody stress you out this week. Fuck them kids. Love y'all. Bye.